Hey everybody, and welcome to the Truck King YouTube channel. A couple of months ago, we got the chance to go drive and jump the brand new Ram TRX. And I'm excited because in a few weeks, we're getting another TRX here on home turf, and we're gonna do all kinds of testing with it. But until then, we had some questions.
So we reached out to Ram and asked to talk to some of the guys, the engineers, who built this truck, because there's so much going on here. And that's what you're about to see right now. Right off the bat then, I mean, I saw the prototype in Texas at the Dallas Auto Show, I guess, what, 2015? So have you been involved?
2016, October 1st, 2016.
Okay. So have you been involved like right from the get-go?
Actually, I came in about 18, but yeah, this concept was the design department and the engineering department have wanted to do this forever. But it's all about timing, and it was actually a 77-day lead time up to that October 1st introduction at the Texas State Fair, that they had to go from a concept to a physical vehicle that could be driven. So that's how far it goes back, right? So midsummer of 2016. So it's been a long time coming, and the reason it didn't come out sooner than at that time, right? It was in the midst of the refresh, right? The 2019 was the introduction of the 1500 light duty,
sure.
DT, as we like to call it. So it was alignment of that timing, and actually that concept got the most views of any concept vehicle that we've ever had on the internet. I mean, it was a huge success from that respect.
Yeah. I went back and pulled out my photos, from the show, and it's interesting to see how many of the styling cues went forward to the actual final design. So, in other words, it was already pretty much fully clothed back in 16.
Yeah, that's one of the things that the design team was really excited about, was that a lot of the concept of the 2016 was really held intact with the vehicle that launched. So a lot of times concept vehicles don't look at all what ends up being in production, but in this case, they're really proud that a lot of the elements that they incorporated in that 77-day program really did end up, hitting production.
Sure.
So really, that's a strong connection between what was shown and what was released. It's great to see.
Just an interesting bit of trivia that I learned along the way here was this was the last program that Sergio Marchioni, fellow Canadian, approved. He saw the concept and done by the PDO group, and liked it, green lighted it without many changes.
Cool.
So pretty cool little bit of history there.
Yeah, I was wondering that because most projects like this usually have a really strong champion within the company.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for somebody to overcome the bean counters and say, no, we're going to build it anyway.
Just in my research, talking to Mike Gillum, who was the design office lead on the program. He said strongly that Mike Manley and Jim Morrison, who's now with the Jeep, isn't he with Jeep now?
Jeep, right, yeah.
Those two guys basically squirred away money and kind of made it happen and put it in front of Sergio, and Sergio rubber stamped it. It was really those two guys that championed the program.
Yeah, a little bit extra history I'd add to it is, one of my previous jobs during that time was fuel economy and greenhouse gas regulation, and I was in charge of letting the executive team know what effect things such as Hellcats and SRTs had on the overall plan. And I always found it amazing that while we had initiatives we were doing to help solve that equation, boy, it seemed every time a Hellcat or SRT inspired vehicle came into the decision, they got decision very quickly. So it was exciting as a performance enthusiast to always to see how quickly we were able to move through these programs. So it's obviously it's very exciting from a number of perspectives. So it gets top attention and moves rapidly.
I had a question for you, Jim. Tell me about what it's like to have to launch a significant product in the year of COVID.
Yeah, you know what? Well, it certainly made our reveal very challenging, right? Because as you may know, it was August 17th, and we had to do a heck of a lot of restrictions. You know, I was one of the main people that pulled it together, and I sat outside the building for an hour waiting for CEO approval to even get in the building because I wasn't on the list. It was kind of funny how very strict it was to get into the building and to reveal this vehicle. But basically, when we started the activities, we all had gone home in March. So absolutely every aspect of planning this reveal was done from home. You know, multiple meetings, and we rarely ever saw, you know, each other in person. I mean, Dan and I saw the first TRX, you know, lifted under a cover in a closed parking lot over at the FDA. It was just amazing how, you know, much we accomplished virtually without being face to face. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
So much went into it as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our final development trips were this year. So I spent a lot of time on the road, actually, out in Utah and you know, Vegas area and Arizona and stuff, doing off-road development. But yeah, I would have met you guys had I been able to cross the Canadian border.
Yeah, or vice versa.
Or vice versa,
Right.
yeah.
We would have been happy to be in Arizona last month.
Right.
I mean, we were thrilled to do the on-road stuff as we did, and just as a complete aside, just this industry in general, it's amazing what we've come up with this year to keep this business rolling. How we continue to communicate with each other, how we promote product, even though, just like what we're doing here today, so much of this has now gone virtual. And, you know, if anything, I think we're going to continue to do a lot of this moving forward.
Yeah, boy, if there was ever a doubt that people could work from home and still run the business, this has proved it, right? In an instant.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we just kind of joke, boy, a study about working from home would have taken us months to accomplish in the old days, and yet we all found ourselves within 24 hours doing it and doing it successfully. So
We're forced to be successful, right?
Absolutely.
I had a lot of pressure on me, I know that.
This is
working from home is not a 9-to-5 job, that's for sure.
no, you know, and we've seen the
Right.
specs. We realize how much of this truck is unique. Again, I always harken back to the comments we get off the internet. There's a lot of guys who are calling it a Rebel wannabe or a Rebel built up, which of course it's not. And at the same token, until we get a lot more sort of seat time and we get to really crawl around in the truck with our cameras, we want to really demonstrate the dimensions and the size differences. So maybe speak a little bit to how different this is from a typical 1500.
I'll go for some of this, Jim. So I mean,
Where to begin?
You guys understand that, you know, the track width is 6 inches wider. The wheelbase is within, I think it's within a half inch. It's very similar to the DT, the Rebel. We had to go with a very unique tuning for the suspension, right? We have a higher ride frequency in the front than we do in the rear, more focused to that, you know, longitudinal impact stuff, right? The off-road scenarios. You know, it's got a raised ride height relative to the Rebel. I think it's a little over 2 inches taller than the Rebel, and just in the base ride height. And of course, the tires give you give you a nice bump as well, right? With the 35s over the what are they, 33s on the Rebel?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's been a while since I've been working on the base truck.
Some of the challenges you and the engineering team have always said is, right, in order to get that 13 and 14 inches of travel, that's why those wheel fenders are busted out, 8 inches wider than a Rebel to get that clearance, and the built-in shocks that provide all that suspension travel and basically instantaneous tuning, right? It's something that chassis is unbelievable, right? What Dan and the team did on the chassis is what makes that truck truly remarkable and far and above, what a Rebel does.
Hellcat equals Dodge, but are there any significant changes between the 6.2 and the TRX versus that engine and some of the other products?
Let's start with the rotating assembly, the heads, the superchargers, all the same as Hellcat. We modify the some of the bits to fit, right? Packaging wise, we've got a unique oil pan, unique pickup tube, some other ancillary parts that are not very interesting. The exhaust manifolds are unique to us. We developed those for this truck. And then we mount the alternator in a different location than the base Hellcat, or the Dodge version of this engine. It's basically the same engine, all the same power producing parts are the same.
That's good, because every TRX owner is going to say that. That's going to be the quote. Of course it's the Hellcat engine.
You can call it that, Howard. We won't.
Fair enough.
It's just the branding perspective, right? That's all. As you guys know, I think Steve said it in one of the videos I watched, right, is, we don't call it the Hellcat, but you know what it is.
Exactly.
Ram's going to work on its own branding initiative, and Hellcat belongs to Dodge.
So much of what's going on with this truck is under the skin. So, I mean, we've shown it, we've talked about it. Frankly, I think there's still lots more that we can do and cover moving forward, because the place where you've got to prove this thing is on the track in some of the desert races. So it brings me to my next question. What have you guys got in mind, be it the Mint, be it Baja, be it Dakar? What have you got in mind factory-wise to do with this truck?
Yeah, great question. It's one that we keep on working through on a daily basis. I can tell you at this point, we don't have any plans scheduled in a near term for a factory race entry, for TRX, but we do have evaluations that we're looking at, and there certainly is no shortage of people from all directions coming at us looking to be involved. It's unbelievable how many emails, how many phone calls, right? A lot of celebrity figures in the racing world are approaching us and asking if how they can be involved. So it's really.
Yeah, Jim, I can speak to engineering. We're chomping at the bit too, so let us know.
So Dan, I got another question for you. You talked a lot about how the truck's been upgraded and of course beefed up, but what comes along with that is weight, and of course this is a heavy truck. So can you speak to sort of the battle between making the truck strong versus making it heavy?
I mean, I kind of led our weight. We call it a weight convergence team, where we just made decisions on is it worth the weight?
Sure.
Each change, are they worth the weight that comes along with it? I mean, the axle is one big example of where that thing is. I want to say it's well over 150 pounds heavier than the DT or the Rebel axle, right? Wow. But everything that we did to that axle made sense. We went to a full floating design. That's for the high loads that you see. Went with a bigger ring gear because of the Hellcat torque. We went with thicker brake flanges just to have a sturdy base for our excuse me, for our brake system. We added bosses to put the power hop damper to control the torque, control the axle during torque apply. All of the frame, we went with, in areas where there are high loads, like where the springs meet the frame, where the shocks meet the frame, all that kind of area was thickened or upgauged or yielded to some exotic metals. There were decisions where we, for example, the brackets that hold the shock reservoirs in the rear, those are plastic. It doesn't need to be any stronger. They do their job.
Yeah.
That's one of those decisions that we made, right? Let's see, where's another area where we added a lot of weight? If you look at the engine mounting system, that's another area where if you compare the 5.7 Rebel engine mounts and how they mount to the engine versus the TR, you'll see that we used cast iron and have a multi-piece bracket on the driver's side just to support that front axle. And there's a lot of loads that go into that the engine mounting system, and we use the engine and transmission as a mass damper running down the road and running off road. It's kind of bouncing, kind of opposite the suspension. So we added weight where we needed to. It hurt sometimes.
Yeah.
In the end it added up. But we think we have a very, very durable, very capable machine at the end of the day.
Sounds like it was all justified in the name of achieving performance targets, right? So every time there was a weight increase, it was you got to hit the objectives.
Why are we doing this? Well, it's got to meet these durability requirements. Right?
It still flies. There's a lot of guys who said the 747 would never get off the ground.
And actually, speaking of that too, and it's a question I asked you last time we spoke, Dan, but I think it's interesting. When the TRX gets off the ground, can you just go through what happens when you're jumping that truck? I know it recognizes that you're jumping, and then it does a whole bunch of different things to accommodate. Can you just kind of say, what the truck does the second it realizes it's in the air?
So when the truck approaches a ramp, say, there are 3 accelerometers on the truck, 2 in the front, 1 in the rear. They create a plane, so it kind of knows, what the front end's doing, what the rear end's doing. In addition, where are the wheels? That's accomplished through the ride height sensors at all four corners. So once it realizes it's in the air, it holds the gear, so you can't, overspeed or continue accelerating, upshifting per se. It limits the RPM rise. It's reducing the front clutch torque so that when you land, you're not back driving the T case and overloading the axles and the half shafts and the prop shaft. It's and the coolest thing to me is it instantaneously increases the amount of shock damping. So the Bilstein active train dynamics system, through the Blackhawk E-squared shocks, I mean it's going to its max capability, preparing for landing. So in addition to the springs, you got the shock force absorbing that landing. And honestly, you can watch some of the competitors' videos. When they land, they do kind of an oscillation, right? We land and we stick the landing. It's quite remarkable how much damping force those shocks can provide.
Absolutely. Very cool. Jim, can you talk about where you're at sales-wise, projections? How many units are available? Are they rolling out? What do you expect to happen?
Well, that's a bit of a tricky question. I wouldn't want to quote specific numbers, but I can tell you we went out for orders on August 18th, the day after our reveal, and of course, the launch edition sold out within a few hours. That was near instantaneous. But the reception was overwhelming. We had thousands of orders more than what we had allocation to build. Right? And at that time, we were looking to shoot for the very end of the fourth quarter production. So we kind of held those orders, sorted through them, and started to work on building them. But we continued to work through, sold orders and dealer orders that are pushed us into the fourth quarter. I mean, we are just now going back out and asking for more orders because we had so many to work through. The response has just been overwhelming. So some of what you see on social media is folks, getting frustrated. I place an order and it's not getting built yet because we just have such an overwhelming amount of orders to get through. It's really been remarkable. So the hope is that this just continues to skyrocket and be the case for many months and years to come. Is just trying to keep up with demand because it's unbelievably strong. But when asked, our answer always is we're going to build a TRX for everyone who wants one, and that's still the truth, right? Put an order in, it's going to get built. That's for sure.
Got it. And now, are you looking forward to when Ford responds with the new Raptor with a whole bunch of Easter eggs of Raptors taking down TRX?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah, let the fun begin. Let the fun begin. I actually heard something. Let's just say third hand, if you will, about the Ford engineering community, who said we're happy that the TRX came out because it finally gives us an opportunity to get some things through we've been dying to do for a while, and now we've got something to, right?
Yeah, you can see that's exactly when you get the go ahead,
competition
right?
Stokes innovation, right? Competition stokes innovation.
Without a doubt.
Well, gents, I'm pretty happy with that. You got any more questions?
Yeah, you know what? I'm just, I realize that in some ways the rollout is done. However, I just feel that, everybody, us and you guys included, we got ripped off because of this COVID nonsense. There's so many cool things we could have been doing throughout this entire lead up. So I hope from that point of view, you'll continue this, and as things ease up, maybe we can get out there, do some more driving stuff, do some adventure stuff, right? Hopefully you guys will go out and do some things and release some videos and YouTube stuff. And, we need to keep this rolling for a while because we only get a truck like this, maybe once every decade? So I from my perspective, I want to milk the hell out of it.
Yeah. Trust me, we're going to take full advantage of it. We've got a pretty aggressive schedule this year, right? So, keep your eye out.
Good. Well, we really appreciate you guys coming together with us here and giving us your time. And I don't know if either one of you put pants on for this, but if you did, thank you.
Yeah.
No comment.
Well, that is it for this one, everyone. We had a great conversation with Jim and Dan. Thanks once again to them for joining us. Now, if you want to learn more about the TRX, well, you're in luck. We are getting one of these monsters here at Truck King HQ in just a few short weeks, and I want to know what you guys want to see. So go below in the comments and let me know what you want to see out of our upcoming TRX review. The one thing I can guarantee is a lot of snowy off-roading. Like I said, that's it for this one. Now go below, leave that comment, hit like, hit subscribe, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we are testing next.